books. Just over 40 years ago, Newt Minow famously described television as a vast wasteland. Well, I can show you books. I have collections of failed forecasts and books in my office. In 1951, 52, 53, talking about how television would revolutionize society, and it would be an educational revolution in particular. Well, by 1962, Newt Minow concluded it was a vast wasteland. The danger here is this going to become just a vaster wasteland that, you know, with little pockets of optimism. I don't mean to be so depressing.
I certainly have to agree, being constantly accused of being a technological optimist. I'm not really an optimist. But how can you really understand anything about history or what's going on in the world and be optimistic? But I am hopeful, which is a choice. And I think that it's a choice that young people ought to be given. I survived my period of nihilism. Nihilism is something that either you are true to and you drive yourself off a cliff, or you grow out of it and you find something else to do. So I think I have to return to dealing with the kids. It's got to be in their hands. And I do think that there is a tremendous potential in the participatory affordances of the technologies we're seeing today. That's why there is such a huge, largely unknown to the public, battle over control of them. And it is happening worldwide. I can't really tell you whether the president of Spain is better for the Spanish people than his opponent, or the president of Korea, or the president of the Philippines, but those elections were tipped by people using these technologies. We're not always going to see them used for democratic purposes. They're not always going to be peaceful. I think the difference, and that's why I write and I talk and I teach, the difference has to do with what we know and what we tell people about what we know. So when I say literacy, most people think of a set of skills, and I think that that's the essential part of it is, how do you operate these things, what do you do with them? But those set of skills, like with reading and writing, are also the entrance into a community. And the community that emerged over decades and centuries around the alphabet, created for better and worse the world we're in now. The community of the literacy that's going to emerge in the next decade is going to have a great deal to do with creating the world for better and worse that we're going to see over the next century. So yes, it pays to be skeptical of projecting utopian hopes on technology. But I think it's important to be hopeful now and to try to mobilize that hope before it's too late.
Great. And in the interest of actually trying to walk a little of our own walk, it seems like this would be a good time to turn this over to you all and hear your voices in the number of things that have been touched on, the need for hope, the looking for elite young thought leaders, the limits and the possibilities of these new media in organizing. Both Howard and Paul have agreed to take questions, and I'll just point from here on out. But 1, 2, and 3.
I'd like to nominate Larry Lessig for the leader of the elite. I think he's got the charisma and the leadership and the vision, but I really respect what he's doing with Creative Commons and his ability to communicate that. So.
And as part of the team that helped steal in from Harvard for Stanford. Solid.
Back to the land-based boundaries that we don't see from space. Over here, please.
Hi, my name is Peggy Berryhill, and I work with the Center for Native
Peggy, there's a mic coming towards you, just on your left.
I'm very comfortable with mics. My name is Peggy Berryhill. I work with the Center radio stations, but we're not just dealing with land-based technology. We really appreciated what Ms. Blackwell said about being involved in policy, because that's what's going to make the difference. Involved in spectrum, we get involved in spectrum, we're helping rewrite the Telecommunications Act, we talk to the FCC. All of these technologies are interconnected, and the communications are interconnected. I also wanted to respond just slightly to what Ms. Blackwell said in talking about a just society. Now, I'm not naive either in thinking we're going to open, the new Garden of Eden here. But the just society has to be a society that's not just my society. If we're going to create an equitable world, we have to be able to respect each other's cultures and our own desires for our own communities, or other people's communities, for what their natural path will be. So sharing our own skills, our technologies, and our cultures is, I think, the way to go. We're not always obviously going to agree, I can't always agree with everything that's going on with my communities, the Native American communities, but we have a lot to offer. But this future thinking of, as we use the 7th generation concept, whatever decision we make today, we have to take into account the next 7 generations. And I think it's that kind of thought that's really important. I mean, one of the reasons I'm here, getting to meet some of you, and this whole glass half full, it doesn't exist. I have to have a satellite where I live. I mean, I'm a tech freak, but the only way I can be involved is to have a satellite. I know there are a lot of Native communities that don't have phone service. They're not going to get it at this point in this society. So there's a lot of issues here that are really important. I don't think we look at them as half empty, but we look at how we can communicate and share those with each other. And I just wanted to share that it really is important that the other communities of culture, I don't like to say just people of color, but communities of culture that are here and that can respond and support each other. I'm looking forward to meeting more of you, but thank you for your thoughts.
Definitely, Howard, I hope you weren't saying I was an nihilist. Definitely, Howard, I hope you weren't saying I was an nihilist. I am, standard posture is I'm a short-term pessimist and I'm a long-term optimist, and history always informs that. I'm just saying the watchword here is constant vigilance. This community celebrated success and dropped its guard in the 1990s, and the large media conglomerates stepped in and skunked us on a whole bunch of things. And the message is, don't drop your guard. Constant vigilance, constantly watching for this stuff is the only way to go. Your mic is somewhere in the crowd.